Guy behind Smashing Magazine and Smashing Conference, and I'm going to mercilessly interrogate him right now.
Try that. You look dashing today.
Thank you. You look
Okay.
like the guy from Despicable Me today.
I wasn't expecting anything else from you anyway.
So the burning question on everybody's lips, is it Vitaly or Vitaly?
Here in Ukraine, Vitaly.
And
In Germany, Vitaly.
And in Belarus?
Vitaly.
Excellent. Where do you get all your energy from? Because
From
you
you.
are all around the world all the time.
Well, I try to stick to a regular routine. I think it's very important when you're traveling a lot. For a long time, I was just messed up in many ways. Like you would wake up in different time zone and you would be going from one place to another, and you end up being just not feeling well. And at this point, I try to be a bit more serious. Maybe just, getting older. This is how it's called. I don't know. But I'm trying to be, exercising in the morning and having my routine and just do stuff and get some sleep, more sleep than before. When there is a choice between going to the party or getting extra sleep, I might be getting extra sleep.
So you're getting boring and old, middle-aged.
I guess so.
Lucky.
That's
So-
okay. That's okay.
Yeah, I mean, I know how it is. I'm always in bed at 8 o'clock in the evening with a cup of hot chocolate.
That sounds just wonderful. I mean, there is nothing wrong about that. As long as you're coding CSS as well in the bed.
Of course, what else would one do there?
Yeah, I don't know. Here's a question for you. That's a question that somebody asked me a while back. Would you still feel comfortable writing HTML, CSS 20 years from now? Would you like it to be your goal? Like a question for you. Would you like to be writing your React components 30 years from now? That's an interesting question to ask.
I don't know that I would like to be writing HTML and CSS in 20 years, but I sincerely hope that people are still writing HTML and
I hope so
CSS,
too.
and it hasn't been replaced with something horrible and proprietary.
Yeah,
Like-
I think it's really great. HTML and CSS is wonderful. I mean, I would love. I mean, I had to think a bit about that question, and the answer is absolutely. I
Yeah.
would be honored if being grandfather, so I could say, yeah, sure, I'll write a few React components here and there. That's pretty cool.
I interviewed Halcom William Lee a couple of years ago, the guy who co-invented CSS, and he was saying that he's confident that in 500 years' time, computers will still be able to render HTML and CSS. And
Yeah, there was something interesting, by the way, in an interview that when he spoke about font weight. Now we have variable fonts coming into browsers, and he said, and I think it was, I don't know when it was, but it said at some point that, in CSS we have font weight 400, 600, 800, and so what if you wanted to have font weight 432, right? And so it's really, for me, this is unbelievable that somebody back then, like 20 years ago, must have thought about the opportunity in the future, like 20 years from then, that you will be able to target all the individual weights if you want to, and the time for it to use it is now. 20 years ago, somebody thought about it in a way that would be profound, changing the way we be using typography on the web now. For me, this is groundbreaking.
that always astonishes me as well, like the fault tolerance of HTML and CSS, designed so that if the browser didn't recognize a tag, it would render the contents rather than break.
Yep.
And same with CSS, if the browser can't handle a certain rule, it just ignores it and carries on, which means that it's just completely future-proof and backwards compatible. I think that, if nothing else, was the amazing vision that they had back then.
I think that's wonderful. I mean, in many ways, we're extremely creative when it comes to coming up with all kind of front-end techniques at this point. I mean, every Friday, I have to spend a couple of hours at least to just understand what the hell is happening in this world. I mean, every single Friday, there is something that I discover, something entirely new and different and strange sometimes. And there are many interesting dirty techniques out there, which is interesting in many ways.
I believe you're going to be showing us many
Exactly.
interesting dirty things in your talk.
Oh, you
this
have no
afternoon.
idea what's expecting you. This is the ultimate dirty show.
After his talk, you're all going to need to go and take a shower. It's going to be
Well-
that dirty.
First, you will need some beers because these things are going to be devastating. And it's not a joke, by the way. I really mean it. If you ever experience the beauty of HTML email, the things you can do today in HTML email, this is out of the control. I mean, who is building HTML emails for a living? That's a good number of people, actually. Wow, you will be the kings and the queens of the show tonight, trust me. We'll see a lot of interesting stuff. Not only HTML, email, just saying, but also, yeah.
So you and I met
27 years ago, was
a
it?
long time ago, but a couple of years ago I was doing a talk when Opera, for whom I was working at the time, launched with ad blocker built in. And we had a discussion because at the time Smashing Mag was basically it was advertising driving most of the revenue, wasn't it? And you took the decision bravely but correctly, in my opinion, to get rid of ads on Smashing Mag. How's it going? What are you doing to monetize?
Yeah, so just to kind of give a bit of context to it, we had a really interesting development over the last 5 years, where consistently for year after year, we saw like half drop in terms of ad revenue, which makes right now 1/16th or so, or 1/32nd and third of what we used to have 5 years ago. So this is dramatic. And so also we realized that while 4 or 5 years ago we had only 12% using ad blockers, at this point it's way beyond 60%. 62, 63%. And it's people like you, and don't get me wrong, I'm using ad blocker as well, and I totally advocate for it because there are reasons, right? The problem is we had to find a way to get out of advertising, and not necessarily because I hate advertising, just because in many ways OpenX and all those ad tracking scripts and tag managers, they just drain on performance, and we know, of course, that whenever you drain performance, you should be expecting lower conversion. So we set, it was kind of a strong decision to set focus on our products, be it books, conferences, workshops, trainings, and also the membership, which has become the subscription, which has become the central element of the redesign. And so, honestly, I was expecting better results. So I'm going to be very blunt and honest here. We were expecting around 1,500 people or so by the end of the year, previous year. So within 2 months after the announcement. And at this point, right now, and it's May-ish,
yeah.
June, May.
It's May.
We have 870, 850, which tells you one thing. It's one thing that people say, and it's another thing that people do, right? But that's okay, we're still growing, and this is kind of going actually fairly well. And at this point, we're covering all the costs that we're not earning much money, but we're covering at least most costs that we have, most revenue that we are losing because of lack of advertising. At this point, also another thing that we decided to do just today, we added this cookie consent thing for GDPR, of course, but we did it we went beyond that. It was not only, hey, are you okay with this, with us collecting data and we use cookies to make your life better, to make the world a better place and so on. Instead, we had a choice. Had a choice, say yes, okay, I agree, or no, I don't want to. And so even if you don't want cookies to be set, that means you will be able to access the entire site, except, of course, membership login will be difficult. But then we wouldn't load any scripts, like any advertising scripts, and also no Google Analytics. So from this point on, we just killed analytics. And why? Because out of all people who visit the site for the last few weeks or so, 66%, and it's a big number, 66% opted out from tracking. So if at this point, we had like the curve in analytics, and it's just 1/3 of what we used to have, so what's the point of having Google Analytics at this point? So we just killed it today.
It's an interesting challenge, isn't it? Because you and I have known each other for years, and I know that you're really passionate about the stuff that Smashing Mag publishes. It's not just a business. You've managed to make a business out of something that you're really passionate about, and I'm really glad that you don't lock people out if they choose not to see ads or run tracking. It's good, and I hope lots of other people follow that model.
Yeah, but the thing is, many people think that, well, yes, I co-founded the Smasher magazine, but in the end, it's all the people who contributed articles, who make it what it is, and it's Rachel and Iris and all the people working behind the scenes who make it all work. And so the content doesn't belong to me, right? The books we publish, they don't belong to me. For example, authors always have the copyright. They can republish if they want. They can sell the books. They can sell webinars and whatever. It all belongs to them because we just built a little platform where you can come and read and publish and write but it's not my content, right? So it's all you people who made it all possible. So it should belong to you, to the people, not to me.
You see, he sounds so lovely and giving, and yet he's going to be showering you with filth later in his talk.
That's true.
Big it up for Vitaly Friedman, ladies and gentlemen.